You are listening to episode number 14 of the Happy Choir podcast. Hola, people. I'm so excited that we're finally here with the first guest of the Happy Choir podcast. I am your host, Carlos Cordero, helping you connect with others through choral music. Anna was an amazing first guest, as you'll be able to listen to in this interview. Anna does a lot of things. She's a voice teacher, Houston Symphony Chorus manager, she has her usual gigs as a singer, she helps co-managing Opera on Tap in Houston, she just joined the Casulana Women Chorus at Houston, and also volunteers as the president of her alma mater's alumni chapter in Houston. Isn't that amazing? And the best part is that she's so great at everything that she does. I'm so glad that she's here to share with us her experience and how to make these things happen and keep growing. So let's listen from Anna Diemer. And in today's episode, we have with us in the Happy Choir podcast, Anna Diemer. Welcome, Anna.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm so excited because when I thought of the people that I wanted to interview for the Happy Choir podcast, your name came right to me because you're one of the people that I look up to in choral music, and as a singer, in as a professional singer, I see you that you bring so much to our medium. Not only as in the choral world, but it's incredible to see your work. So I thought that it was important to have you here, and I'm so grateful that you took the time to for this.
Well, thank you. That's so sweet. I hope that sharing about my life and my career is interesting and helpful to you and to your listeners.
Yeah, yeah. So I would like to start a little bit with background. So I would like to know, where did you start and how did you come into the music world?
Sure. So, probably like most of us, I have been singing since I could talk, probably. My mom tells stories of me singing along to country songs when I was 2. I could sing the University of North Carolina fight song when I was 2. So after that, doing choir in school and church. I think probably the most formative experience of my childhood was doing Greensboro Youth Chorus. I'm from North Carolina, so Greensboro, North Carolina. I remember that's when I learned how to use solfege for the first time. That was my first time being in a real choir, a big choir. And it was treble voices, boys and girls. And I only did it for a year, but I still remember some of the rep that we
Oh,
sang.
how wonderful.
There was like a fire burning brightly. Like I still remember that piece. And so I continued on to do choir and school musicals in middle and high school. I attended the North Carolina Governor's School for Choral Music when I was 15, and I met some of my lifelong friends there. And I would say that's probably what really inspired me to pursue music as a career, was definitely choral music. Even though I perform professionally and I have studied opera and art song and a little bit of everything, jazz too. It was definitely choral music that got me going. And I remember listening when I got my driver's license to the Eric Whitacre BYU Singers album, like on repeat in my car.
How
Um,
wonderful. So it was always singing. Do you combine it with an instrument or with piano, or was always your voice the way that you expressed yourself?
I took piano lessons in middle school. And when I got to high school, I was able to switch. I wish I had been able to keep doing both. I might pick it up again now in my adult years, but I I play a little bit of ukulele now,
Oh, how
actually.
wonderful. Yeah, I love it because I also feel that choir was kind of the way that it leads us to meet new people, to know different ways to make music. So for me, it's such a complete way of making music. I don't know, and I might be biased because I've been in choirs, I write for choirs, so but
No,
that's
I
wonderful.
totally agree.
Did you have a favorite part that you enjoy the most as singing in these different ensembles or in the musicals?
Favorite part from growing up? Um, I'm trying to think of a particular performance. Definitely Governor's School was awesome. It was at Meredith College in Raleigh. It was, our first time ever staying away from home. And I think maybe not even performances, but I think this goes for college as well. It's like when you would run into your friends in the practice hallway, everybody's taking a
Mhm.
break from practicing, and you have some kind of impromptu jazz session, like to jam out, or you start singing your choir music in like a little quartet. Or I think those are the moments that stick out to me the most of like, this is my community. It's 9:30 p.m. on a Wednesday. We're all still in the music building, trying to practice, trying to improve our art. And we just take a few minutes to be crazy and enjoy this together. That definitely sticks out to me.
I love that. And I think that I saw some videos from you last year tagging some barbershop tags too.
Yes, I sang in a barbershop quartet in college called
Hmm.
the Honeybees. It was our ladies'
I love
barbershop
it.
quartet. And there's a barbershop group here in Houston called Space City Sound. They're trying to get me to join. Um, I don't know how many choirs I can do, but I definitely enjoy that as well.
That's always a question with, when one sings, how many schedules and how many songs I can learn.
Right. Can I do more choirs? I just joined another one. So,
Yeah, it's well. I'm new to barbershop, so it was awesome to see that you even have that other side of you. Because as we're going to get later in the interview, you wear many hats as a singer. You have different jobs, and not only singing, but also using singing as a medium to connect with people. So I think it's perfect, and I'm interested to know what kept you going to choirs besides the community building. Is there something that connected to get to the next one?
sure. So I feel like I've had a pretty consistent presence of choir in my life. I went to college at Furman University, and the Furman Singers are really a family. Yes, we're a choir. Yes, we sing, but that was such an important sense of community for me. We have reunions every other year, and I still go back for the reunions. I still keep in touch with our directors. So that was a big part of my life in college. I did sing for a year with our chamber choir as well, but definitely Furman Singers under the direction of Bing Vick and Hugh Floyd kept me going throughout college. We went on tour over spring break, and that was definitely fun bonding time with our other choir members and opportunities to perform in the area. We went to DC twice, um, Philadelphia, like all around the Northeast one year, did like a Southeast tour most of the time. And then I graduated from college and I moved to Houston on a whim because my best friend was moving here. And I said, can I be your roommate? I don't want to move back home. I want to try
I
something
love
new.
it.
So I didn't have a job. It's like kind of crazy to think about now that I just packed up all my basically sheet music and kitchen stuff and some clothes and drove out to Houston with my friend. And that was 8.5 years ago. So
Wow.
obviously I like it here. Um, and for the first 6 months, I felt a little lost. I was
Hmm.
trying to gain my bearings, trying to get a job. Then I found out about the Houston Symphony Chorus. And so in January of 2012, I auditioned for the Houston Symphony Chorus and I made it. The first performance I did with them was the Planets by Holst. So it wasn't even on
Amazing.
stage. You're off
Yeah.
stage for that for the ladies choir. Um, but I started making friends that I still know today. Did my first performance of Carmina Burana and of the Brahms Requiem. And later on, after my master's degree, I would go on to be the manager of the Houston Symphony Chorus, which is a job that I have now. This is my fifth season with the Symphony Chorus, and that has provided me like so many choral opportunities, solo opportunities, just friends, basically my chosen family. So I guess I never really thought about it until you asked that question, but kind of choir has always been this underlying um, thing, like foundation of my life.
Yeah. So kind of something that connects one thing with the next step and the thing that take us to the next one, and it's amazing. And that's actually how we met. We met in Houston Symphony Chorus when I auditioned back in UH.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, something that was amazing is to see that you were always so organized and so prepared. And something that I don't know if I ever told you, but to feel that you were always prepared, not only as a singer but as the manager of the chorus, was amazing for me. And every time that we had an answer, either you had the answer right away or you point us to the person that had the answer. So I'm always grateful for my experience in there, and to know you, because then I got to meet all of the things that you do. And that's the thing that I want to talk right now. What's your current position? And I know that you hold many, many activities in different organizations. So feel free to talk about it.
Sure. So I'm still the manager of the Houston Symphony Chorus. I make most of my income from private teaching. So I'm an adjunct professor at Brazosport College, which is in Lake Jackson. So one day a week, I get in my car and put on some podcasts and make the hike down to Lake Jackson. It takes me about an hour. But I'm the only voice teacher there, and I run my studio. I teach at the high schools in New Caney ISD. Their choir directors are also really wonderful friends of mine. So that worked out. I get to help nurture and grow their students and be a part of their programs, which is fantastic. And I have a private studio that I teach out of my home. And that includes adults from the Houston Symphony Chorus, from the community. I do have a chunk of students that attend HSPVA, which is the high school for the kinder high school for the performing and visual arts in Houston, for those of you who aren't local. So my students are a big chunk of my life. And the way that I mostly make money outside of singing, there's a term that's called correlating career that was created by Dana Varga, which is like what you actually do for like career fulfillment and stability while you sing, while you are trying to create your singing career. If singing is not your main source of income,
Okay.
these other things that you do for your correlating career, like arts administration, like teaching, are still important parts of your life, and they contribute to you being able to perform and sing and do choirs and
Exactly.
all that good stuff that we love to do.
Did you see this coming for you? Was this part of your plan, or was it something that you discovered on the way?
I knew that I wanted to teach voice since the end of college. That's why I went back and got my master's at U of H. Go Cougs.
Yeah, go Cooks.
Go Cougs in voice pedagogy. So I learned a lot there. But I was always a little afraid of being self-employed, being a full-time musician. It was always a little scary. So I've had all sorts of other interesting jobs. I worked for an attorney. I've tutored a lot. And then I formally opened my voice studio in January of 2018. Yeah, so I guess I just celebrated my 2-year anniversary of
Congratulations.
mostly full-time voice teaching. Thank you.
That's so awesome. And the fact that you knew something that you wanted to do and you find a way to pursue it, and balance it with different jobs here and there. It's amazing. I feel that at first, I don't know if I also shared this with you, but at first, before becoming a composer, I started as a singer. And the very first narrow thought was, okay, singer sing. So that's that's all that I have to do, I guess. And then to discover all the things that we can do, because when people first just say, I'm going to be in the arts, then they will say, well, that's not something that you can live from, or there is always that belief. And there is just so much that we can do. That's why I feel that you represent so well the spirit of this page and its podcast, because you've gone for the things and you've done it, and I feel that you've mastered them. Do you feel that have a good sense of the things that you are doing, or you continue growing and learning?
I think it's always a journey. I think right now I'm starting to feel comfortable, but it definitely took up until this school year to find a schedule that was more sustainable for me. I feel a better balance now, and I'm sure that's going to be different for everybody depending on how much you like to be around people and
Yeah.
how much you need to sleep. So finding a balance, I think, is a constant journey for me. I feel like I feel pretty good about figuring things out
Mm-hmm.
for the time being, but I do have a lot of stuff I still want to do with my life. So now it's sort of like, okay, I kind of feel like I'm on my feet. I'm getting more confident. So I'm just now starting to think about what might be next.
What's the next step? Yeah, exactly. Because once you started to, or you were there before, so now you figure it out, and now you have some space to now start to feel the ground. Is that, I think that's how you said it, or how people say it here, like to test something new and see how it goes.
Yes, yes, to take some risks, to test the waters.
Test the waters. That's the one.
Yes.
Hey people, I want to take a quick second to tell you how your support makes a difference. When you support me on patreon.com, you are not only giving $3 a month, but you are giving my brand a vote of confidence. This translates to helping several other artists to connect through choral music. Think about it as a cup of coffee that you invite me once a month, only that it's way more impactful and personal. Plus, you get to be part of the behind the scenes of my career as a composer, with the many perks that I shared in there. Even if you're not able to give right now, your support listening to this podcast is great, even more if you leave a review in iTunes. Patreon.com/composercordero is the link that you want to visit or share with others. Hope to see you there. We do a lot of stuff, and sometimes it's because of personal, sometimes it's because of professional goals. Do you feel that this way of the way that you've arranged your life to work as a singer, does that fulfill you in a personal level, in a professional level, or are they together? How do you see it?
uh, I think that is probably 100% intertwined. I think my identity is as a singer, is as a musician. So the fact that I'm able to make money from that is like, okay, I still have a lot of stuff I want to do, and nothing is perfect and nothing will ever be perfect. But like, this is a part of who I am. And I'm so glad that my career is able to express that so deeply. And, some people say if you do what you love, uh, it's really hard to find boundaries and you'll always be busy and there's always things to do and it's stressful. But I think that goes back to the trying to find balance. Um, you have the freedom to do more things. Like I helped start the Houston chapter of Opera on Tap. And so I get to curate our shows and also get to perform. But also, like, sleeping is great.
Yeah.
So,
The balance between taking care of ourselves and then also taking care of our creative needs, kind of things.
right, exactly.
Just yesterday I was talking to somebody and they say, well, I'm learning to say no. And
Yes, I'm learning to say no.
yeah, and it always looks something like, yeah, no, you know, like you just start to say, yeah, it was very funny because they start to say yes to everything, and then people will be like, remember that you're saying no.
Right, you're trying to do that.
Yeah, and I've been listening to some podcasts, and they say something important that I've seen is when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, and vice versa, right? When you say no to something, it's because you want to leave some space for it. So I just feel very excited because you share with me all the things that you do, singing in three different choirs or two.
So I sing with Houston Symphony Chorus. I just joined Casulana, which is the new women's chorus of Houston. I'm very excited about that. And then Opera on Tap is solo performing. We do some ensembles and stuff. So I wouldn't count that as a choir, but that's another volunteer ensemble that I both work for and get to perform.
Well, you've also put together your own recitals, right?
Yes, I just performed 3 recitals. Is the same set of repertoire at local community colleges, and one we got invited to be guest artists at Central Texas College in Killeen. So that was a little road trip out there. So I try to put together a recital every now and then just to make sure my chops are still up,
Oh, wonderful.
because I guess it had been about 4 years since I had given a recital, and it was a really, no, 5 years since my master's recital to memorize an entire hour worth of music,
Wow.
and perform it. The first of those three recitals, there was definitely a lot going through my head. Um, but it was so good to get back into that and remember, like, yes, I can do this. Our brains are capable of amazing things. Somehow I still kind of don't know how we are able to absorb all of that and do that and perform. Like, brains are amazing. um, so I try to get out there and as much as I can.
I love it because then you're not staying just in the comfort zone of, okay, this is what I'm doing and I'm just going to repeat it forever. But you find that fun way of living, that fun way of, oh, now I'm going to try this and I'm going to combine it with this. And what I love about that is that it doesn't get automatic. It lets you express in different ways. So I guess that this is a good way to get to our focus point that I thought for us to talk today is this idea of the organization. That do you have a way of organizing these different schedules that you have to manage, or is it something that you learned with the time just to schedule something that you learned on your journey?
Sure. I think probably a little bit of both. This actually, a lot of this comes from one of my non-music jobs. I worked for an attorney as his assistant. He's still in Houston. Hi, Justin. Um, and he taught me a lot of the strategies that he uses to stay organized. He basically has an app for everything, super tuned in. Um, and so I still have a list app that I got from him. Um, my best friend told me about an app called Due, Due,
Okay.
and it's reminders, and it keeps giving you the reminder until you snooze it or mark it off. So that's nice because whenever I know I need to get something done, but say I am at a school and I need to do this at home, I put it in Due for a time that I know I'm going to be home. And then it reminds me at that time so that I can then complete the task. Um, I make a lot of to do lists. There's one in my view right now,
I love it.
actually. And then my iCal is color coded with like green is teaching voice lessons, purple is Houston Symphony Chorus. I just started yellow for like extra stuff. I don't know what's going to be yellow yet, but this interview was yellow.
I love it.
So just so things pop out and I can see, okay, here's the time I'm spending working. I actually did add workouts to my calendar so that it reminds me, like, hey, your class that you want to go to is in 15 minutes, so you better get in the car and go to the Y.
That's
So that
perfect.
helps me like set aside time both mentally and physically on my calendar for self-care things as well. I'm kind of a gym rat a little bit. So that's making time for that in my life has been something I've that's contributed to finding the balance in the past year or two as well.
Well, and these are the things that, well, I always feel that anything that I can get off my brain, that I can, because we have all of these amazing apps, or if not, even a notebook or something. I mean, it just helps me to free up space in my thinking, that
Mm-hmm.
it helps me to either stay less stressed, know that I'm not going to forget something. Although, I sometimes get with the to do list a little bit too creative and they're too long. Or it's like, I don't have
Yes.
time for that. But this is something important for me because the we learn so much in university and in programs, in summer programs, about singing, about performing, connecting with others. But also, this is the day to day that we have to find a way to the schedules, or how do you, for example, take care of yourself when you are sick, and then you have to move some things around. I mean, all of this, and hearing that you use the apps to keep on the things that you have to accomplish at certain times, that I feel that that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that this is always a sort of process for you, or is this something that you do now and then to help you?
I feel like I am. constantly doing this because I need it, because I don't always succeed at it.
Hmm.
For example, my sister's bachelorette party was last weekend, and I still haven't finished putting away all the kitchen things I brought over to the Airbnb, and I probably need to mop. And I'm always in this journey of like trying to figure out what works best. So like maybe I need to start just putting that on my calendar too. Like, hey, 15 minutes, mop your apartment. And then it tells me, and I say, okay, this is the time that I'm doing that. I did that for practicing German because I speak at like a tourist level of German, but I want to get better.
Oh, wonderful.
So I put a reminder on a different day at like a time I know I'm going to be eating lunch, or when I know I don't have students, so that I can do 10 minutes of German on my app. So it sounds a little micromanagey, but at the same time, I will have days where I'm like, I'm just going to lay here and watch Netflix, and
Exactly.
that's okay too. So trying to um, juggle both those things.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of the thing that also works for each one of us, right? I mean, if it's I don't see it as much as micromanaging as much as preparing for the future. So something that helps me, at least for me, is knowing that if I have something in my mind and I say I need to do it later, it calms me to know that I'll have time later. That's sort
Yes.
of also what helps me is that okay, I have to put that together, but I said that I will do that from 3 to 4, so no worries now. I can concentrate on the thing that I'm doing now. So
Mhm.
I feel, and now you share with us, I feel that it's kind of being prepared for the future and knowing that you will have time to perform all of these things. Uh, so it's important for me to see that you can succeed at so many different activities and enjoy them too, because sometimes I feel that we get into too many choirs or too many rehearsals, too many ideas, and then
Yes.
you sometimes you feel that you're not enjoying something or that you are not doing as well as you can do in this concert or this. So thank you for sharing that. It's amazing to see how it works inside.
Inside my brain.
Yeah, and I always remember something. There is these two things that I wanted to remember to say is that you always said in Houston Symphony Chorus, early is on time, which is something that
Yes.
I've been always trying to fix in my mind, and I love it because, well, at least in Venezuela, we had this kind of how do you say that, flexible time.
Yes.
10 minutes before, 10 minutes after. You have this. There is a little of a gray area in the beginning of something, but once I got to UH, it was something like at this time you have to be prepared and singing, and it was so early on time was always on my mind. But also that, and I feel this is kind of true for a lot of choral people, that we all have a little bit of a chef side. If we go to your Instagram, we will find not only your adventures as a singer and in traveling, but also incredible food. Do you do you have is cooking for you a time that you put a lot of effort to and that you enjoy? Is it a process?
Yeah, cooking is probably my biggest non-musical hobby other than the gym. I guess those balance each other out, right?
Yeah,
Um, I make good food and I eat it, and then I go work out to make sure I can still keep eating good food.
exactly.
Um, yeah, I love making time to cook. I usually meal plan so that when I'm going around to my gazillion jobs, I have a lunch packed with me. There are days that I pack breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I do love trying new recipes. I subscribe to New York Times Cooking, and I put all the pictures on Instagram because that's what you do with Instagram.
Exactly. I mean, that's it. That's the time that we're living in. But it all looks so amazing, and every time that I see it, it's like, oh my god, it must taste so good. Something that I've seen in our life is that we get too busy with different schedules, different choirs, different performances. I have to study for this, and then we forget these times of I have to prepare a meal that I will enjoy. So you end up eating a bar or something, or I don't know, and
Right.
then feeling drowsy or sleepy in a rehearsal, and then it all. I like the theme that we're getting into. That's the planning before to be ready to kind of succeed, to be able to find this little tricks that you can do before so you can enjoy after. I love that. The Do you have a thing that you wish you had known then when you were starting this different and unknown territory for you?
I wish someone had encouraged me to take risks sooner, to reach out to more people, to create networks sooner. I was in Houston for 2 or 3 years before I went back to U of H for my master's. And then I really started to grow networks and talk to people and really started teaching voice again. And I wish someone had said, hey, I know you just moved here and you don't know anybody, but you should get out there and try to do this. And I don't regret any part of my journey. It was just a little bit of a slow start. So I think now I'm just trying to remind myself baby steps are okay. Take a baby step that might be a little bit of a risk and see if that moves you in a direction that you want to go. And it might not. Do you want to pursue that direction? Does that help you realize you want to pursue a different direction? So I'm trying to take that, what I've learned, and use that moving forward.
I love that idea because then you don't have to think that you have to do all of these big activities or all of this uh, engagement of all of yourself, but just take that little steps and see how you feel, see how it goes with your life. I really like that idea, and as you said, for example, you don't regret anything of that happened because it all led you here. So that's something that we're all learning, right? That we are all, for example, we can be dealing with something in our minds, in stress, in school, or just out of school. For example, myself, 1 year after graduating, it's like, oh, but discovering all the things that we can do, and it will all lead you to where you want to be, where you want to go. So I love that idea of testing the water. Was the
Yeah, testing the
yeah,
waters.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I think as long as you never stop having that feeling that you're always pushing yourself forward just a little bit, not like pushing, not in a bad way, but I think probably the most important advice I could tell my students is it's okay to change your mind. It's always okay to change your mind. Try something, and if you don't like it, you can change your mind. You can change your major. Hopefully, you can still get it done and not be too expensive.
Exactly.
But if something isn't making you happy, then take steps to change that. And they can be baby steps as long as you feel like you're going in a direction that makes you happy, because it's not about the end, right? It's about the journey that we're
Exactly.
on.
I love that idea too. And I love that you encourage two people to think about that because they might have been thinking about it, but might not be able to voice it or to even dare to speak it out loud, right? Do you feel that then these different parts of your job as a teacher, as a manager, as a performer, have they helped you in different ways of connecting to the next thing?
Yeah, they definitely connect to each other. Teaching has made me way better of a musician because you are constantly analyzing and problem solving. And to do that in your own practice is something that's really hard to learn on your own. And so I've gotten better at sight reading, at doing solfege, at playing piano, at being critical of my own self while I'm practicing, at using the techniques that I use with my students on myself. So those are super interrelated. Um, Administration just keeps me organized. So maybe that's like a little split. Like
Okay.
those are the two halves. It's the musician side of things and then like the analytical side of things. But then at the same time, teaching can be really analytical too. I'm really interested in voice science, and even though we might achieve a result by using metaphor, what I'm still doing is manipulating acoustics and trying to achieve a particular resonance, even though I'm not using a spectrogram in the middle of
Exactly.
my lessons. Um, I'm still doing science. So yeah, I guess it's all interconnected.
I love it. And yeah, I mean, you're right. The thing that, and the way that we also make it work, because I feel, for example, you said that your job with an attorney help you in your life as a musician. So I've always also tried to read outside music fields and then see how that goes to composition, or how does it help me to as a composer, as a musician. I just want to quickly remind you that all of the links that are mentioned in this episode will be in the show notes in thehappychoir.com/podcast, or find it in the description of this episode. Also, once you are there in the website, you can subscribe to the newsletter. This will come with a $20 discount for your next choral recording, a free guide that I've created just for you on the things that I've discovered in my career on how to be a happy composer, conductor, or singer. You will also receive a weekly email with podcast episodes, blog posts, and music. I hope to see you there. Now, let's get back to this episode. What would you say is your level of comfortable? Were you very uncomfortable on these risks, or do you feel excited when you are out of your comfort zone?
I think my answer is two parts here. There is a definitely excitement. I was very excited to open my voice studio, and I thought if I just have to eat ramen noodles for a couple of months while I get my feet underneath me, then I will. And I'm excited to take this next step forward. But at the same time, I had already been teaching lessons after work, after my day job, for 4 months at that point. So I already had part of a studio built up. I had already taken some baby steps to get there. So it was like you're on a diving board at the pool and you're walking to the edge of the diving board, and that might take a little while, but then by the time you get to the end of the diving board, you're ready to dive in. You've gotten there. It's not like you just run off the diving board. I don't think I would describe myself as a run off the diving board kind of person. And that's okay. There are people that are like that, but I think I like to take the baby steps, and that allows me to be more comfortable in the things that are uncomfortable, because it's only a little bit uncomfortable.
Then you don't have to live in this zone of oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. You're not freaking out with all of what's making you uncomfortable, but you're just adding something, right? You're just adding this new detail that it's unknown to you, but you're going to figure it out. I like that idea of just walking towards the diving board instead of running and then what am I going to do?
Right, which sometimes I wish I was more like that. But I think I'm trying to reconcile being comfortable with it's okay to be comfortable. To not always push yourself, to enjoy the things that you're doing now. And when you start to feel a little bored, like that's when you start taking your baby steps.
Do you, this is a random question, but talking about these big risks and these kind of things, as a performer, for example, something that I feel would be different, would you do like a sight reading performance? It could be something interesting.
That would be fun. Maybe with
it
a
would
choir.
Be uncomfortable, but sounds fun. I mean,
right.
The faces are always amazing, so.
Right, yeah. Well, I've studied improvisation a little bit, so that's a fun thing to do. Someone talked about doing musical Mad Libs, where they take a piece and they erase some of the words out of it, and then you leave the room, the audience comes up with the words to fill in, and then you come back on stage, they hand you the page, and then you sing. I've always wanted to do this.
That sounds amazing.
So definitely on stage, I feel like it's a place I can take risks. Opera on Tap is super fun for that, because we're usually in a bar and I can yell at the audience if I don't think they're being interesting enough. I'm like, you guys are boring me. I'm singing to you and you should be enjoying this more. I run around and I get super into character, and that's definitely one of my favorite parts of performing.
I love it. The first time that I went to Opera on Tap, I haven't been in Houston to Opera on Tap, but in Portland, it was the first time that I was there.
Nice.
And my brain was like, oh, beer and an opera, it's like, what is this? And exactly, was that kind of breaking the barrier between stage and audience. The singers would also come out to us and play with us as a character of the story. It was amazing. Maybe we ought to do the Mad Libs here. We bring you here to Austin and
great, and I'll do Mad Libs.
I love it. So what will be one thing that you wish singers know or do?
Practice with a metronome.
Oh yeah, I love that
That's
idea.
something kind of new to me. That's one of my new 2020 goals. I don't like making resolutions because I want to be able to take my baby steps at any time. But one of them I'm doing recently is always practicing with a metronome because I feel like tempo is one of my weaknesses and I want to improve on that. So I know that's not like inspirational, but
No, I love it. I mean, I've seen it too. In rehearsals, I've seen people working with metronomes in choral rehearsals and in barbershop rehearsals, and it's amazing to see how much we go out of the tempo. I mean, it's like, oh, we need it. We actually need to do it. So I love that, and it's so, sometimes that's also something that I've learned through this process is that we expect this trick or this magic thing, and then they tell you, breathe differently, and you're like, yeah, that's all.
right, but it makes such a big difference.
Exactly. So I love it. And then, what's one thing that you wish composers know or do? I love that. I know that you love working with living composers and making new music.
I do. Something that I wish composers would know. I don't know. I think I am torn on this one, especially for speaking to composers of vocal music, of choral music, of solo music. Do more weird stuff, and also it's okay not to do weird stuff. Like it's
Okay,
okay just to sing, to write beautiful music, and it is also okay to push the boundaries. I want to be doing both. Um,
I love
I
it.
want to do more weird stuff, I think. I haven't commissioned anything this year yet, but one of my personal goals is that I premiere a world premiere once a year.
Oh, I love it.
So last year I premiered a piece that was written for me in February and of art songs. And so I'm thinking, okay, what do I want to do in 2020? Um, and I love all parts of that. I want the beautiful and the nostalgic and all those feelings. And then I also want to get on stage and make weird animal noises. I don't know.
I love it. And I will of course put in the show notes links to your website and to the places that they can hear you. But I have to tell you that if you haven't listened to Anna, you will want to, because amazing singer. You really are. Not only your voice is not only so expressive, but your body expression, your commitment to the piece, it's just amazing. So it's an
Thank
experience, and
you.
that's what I
Thank
love about
you.
this. And then for conductors, do you have something that you wish they know or they do, or something that you think could be a detail that people can take?
No, I know I want to learn more conducting. Yeah, I feel like I have my list is ever growing of all the stuff I want to do. Um, so I don't know. I feel like that's the area of these three that I'm the least familiar with. Um, so I guess when I work with a conductor, what I want to see is just the communication, not necessarily rehearsal techniques kind of communication, but feeling the connection and the trust of I'm singing and I'm looking at you and you're guiding us. That's really important to me to find that in a conductor.
Yeah, I think that's perfect, because then you are not only talking about them moving their hands correctly or anything, but also that deeper level of connection that you have to have with the people you're making music with. So I love that idea. And I also, since you talked about that, something that I feel in the Happy Choir, and I haven't uploaded to the website, but I have this draw of a triangle, a pyramid. So in one place you have composers, singers, conductors, and I feel that we all have a little bit of each or both, or
Mm-hmm.
it's rare to find, in choral music at least, somebody who just sings or just composes or just conducts. Conductors arrange music or compose. Singer can do both. I mean, everybody can do all, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something. And now hearing that you want to see some conducting and do some conducting yourself, I just love how open we are in the choral community to all of these ideas. So, since we are close to the ending, do you have any announcements or current projects that you would like to share with the audience?
So Opera on Tap does a performance once a month, and most of these performances are free and open to the public. Most of them are 21 and up if you would like to enjoy the on tap part of the performance. But you can see me there. I'm performing on March 7th at the Houston Cider Company at our show there. And I also am performing in the inaugural concert of Casulana Women's Chorus of Houston, which will be on March 1st at 2:30.
Is there any place that you would like to share with us that can find you online, your website or Instagram?
You can find me on the web at annadiemer.com, and my Instagram is Lil Tiny Soprano, Lil, not little, Lil Tiny Soprano on Instagram.
And of course, all of this will be in the show notes, so you can find her easy and enjoy all of Anna's artistry in her performances as a singer, but also as a chef in Instagram, seeing all the wonderful food that she makes. Anna, this was amazing, and I'm so grateful for you to be here with us, sharing what it is to be a professional singer and to make your own schedule and to enjoy your life so much as a choral singer, but also as a singer that does so many different things, not only use your voice.
Thank you. It's been absolutely delightful to be on the podcast.
See you in the next episode of the Happy Choir podcast. Ciao, people. Woohoo! You've been listening to the Happy Choir podcast. For more information and show notes, visit thehappychoir.com.